We will broadcast the webinar in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the 11th MMHRDC Research and Photography Competition. I would like you all to please keep your silence and uh, be ready for our invocation followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight.
It's the voice of hope. bayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, kalasan silanganan, alam ng puso, sa litig mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyagan ang magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tulog sa simoy at sa langit mong pagkaw, ay dinatang tulang awin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay magtitigil. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay ang langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
So good morning. Good morning once again. Welcome to the 11th Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium Annual Scientific Conference with the theme, The Road to Super Seniors, the Science of Aging. And of course, our co-presenters for this specific event are Far Eastern University, Our Lady of Fatima University, DOST, MMHRDC, DOH, CHED, and UP Manila. So before we begin, I'd like to read to you the mechanics for our contests for this morning. So mechanics for the oral research presentation is as follows. The time allotted to present the research projects is 6 minutes only. Kindly prepare a pre-recorded video of the presentation within the time allotment of 6 minutes. Even with the pre-recorded video, the presenter should be virtually present for the entire duration of the presentation. However, be also prepared for a live presentation should the need arise. The pre-recorded video should contain the following format of the presentation. Maximum of 10 slides, which contains the project description, objectives of the project, methodology, results, conclusion, and recommendation. The font style will be black Arial font and the font size will be 20. In the presentation video, the researcher should refrain from mentioning and or acknowledging information which should reveal the identity of the institution or region that he or she represents. Make sure that both the presenter and their slides are visible in the screen. Pre-recorded video format should be MP4. And for our poster presentation, here are the mechanics. The poster should include the following identifying information: research title and names of researchers and institutions. It should cite reasons why such project was developed or why the study was conducted. The study's potential benefits in terms of its impact on health and quality of life, science or technology contributions, or socio-economic benefits. It should contain the following: abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. The poster may exhibit the highlight of the study in picture or colored presentation. Graphical and other appropriate presentations may also be included. And for the photography competition, here are our mechanics. Photography contest is open to all senior high school students, college students, staff, and faculty of current MMHRDC member institutions. Plagiarism is grounds for automatic disqualification. All shortlisted entries shall become the property of MMHRDC. The royalty of the photographer shall not apply every time MMHRDC and should use the photos and promotion or management of MMHRDC. Photographers shall be given photo credits every time applicable. A maximum of 2 entries per lead photographer are allowed. So, at this juncture, I would like to now move to the next part of our program, which is the opening remarks. And this will be provided to us by Dr. Eva Maria Cutionco de la Paz, the chair of the MMHRDC Steering Committee and executive director of the National Institutes of Health, University of the Philippines, Manila.
Good morning to our distinguished panel of judges, member institutions, guests, and participants. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this year's annual scientific conference organized by the Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium, Our Lady of Fatima University, and Far Eastern University. May I acknowledge the dynamic leaders of MMHRDC, led by UP Manila Chancellor Carmencita Padilla, Our Lady of Fatima University President Caroline Marian Enrique, and Far Eastern University President Michael Alba for their active role in making this event possible. I would also like to thank the hardworking committee members led by Dr. Michael Joseph Dino of Our Lady of Fatima University, and Professor Maria Grace Rosales of the Manila Central University, Filimon D. Tantioco Medical Foundation. 2020 marks the 11th year of MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference. This event aims to showcase completed health research projects from its different member institutions and also to present the valuable findings to potential end users. The other activities under this event are the oral research presentation, research poster competition, and the photography competition. For this year, we have received a total of 22 research paper entries and 17 photo entries from 12 member institutions. At this point, I'd like to wish our contestants all the best in their presentations. I am certain that the attendees and viewers of the program will learn a lot from your research work. May we all have a productive and fruitful morning. Muli, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
For that very heartwarming opening remarks that you have provided. And thank you also to the research committee who has been hardworking to set up this virtual presentation. So at this juncture, I'd like to remind everyone that the link for the research poster presentation and photography competition entries are now open for viewing for the general audiences. And you can look into the link below so that you'll be able to view the research studies presented through posters and the beautiful photographs that have been taken by some of our staff and students from the different member institutions. Okay, so at this juncture of our event, I would now like to introduce our judges for the three, I would like to introduce the working committees for this event. So, of course, for the research competition committee members, we have Maria Grace Rosales, who is our chair from the Manila Central University Filimon D. Tantioco Medical Foundation. And then the members are Dr. Michael Joseph Dino from Our Lady of Fatima University. We have myself, Dr. Jerome Cleofas from De La Salle University. We have Dr. Madeline Ong from the Ateneo Center for Research and Innovation, and Mr. Gino Antonio Lagrosa from the Asian Eye Institute. And then for the photography competition committee members, we have Dr. Generosa Pamitan from the Far Eastern University. We have Ms. Jamil Santos, Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium Secretariat, and we have Mr. Aurelio de la Cruz, also from the Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium Secretariat. We have also our technical committee members who are making sure that our event and our webinar is smooth flowing for this morning. We have Mr. Chris Patricio from Our Lady of Fatima University, and we have Mr. Joseph Carlo Tivita from Our Lady of Fatima University as well. And now, let's move on to the introduction to the competition judges. Now, let me introduce first our oral presentation judges who will be helping us in terms of trying to find our best research oral presentation. So let me introduce them to you. Dr. Mary Ann Ladia has a solid research background with more than 30 years experience. With specialization in medical anthropology, Dr. Ladia conducts research in multi, and transdisciplinary teams using both qualitative and quantitative methods. Maan, as she is fondly called, is a clinical associate professor and research associate professor at the Department of Clinical Epidemiology of the College of Medicine and at the Institute of Clinical Epidemiology, National Institutes of Health, respectively. She achieved her degree in AB Social Science with majors in economics and psychology at the University of the Philippines, Baguio. She pursued 3 masters, MS Psychology, Masters in Health Social Sciences, and MA Anthropology. Dr. Ladia earned her PhD degree in anthropology, specializing in medical anthropology from Michigan State University. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mary Ann Ladia. Next, we have Dr. Maria Rosario Bernardo Lazaro. She is a family and community medicine physician and the current president of the Philippine Academic Society of Community Medicine. She's also a faculty at the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, where she handles subjects of family and community health and research methods and translation for third-year medical students. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Maria Rosario Bernardo Lazaro. And our third judge for the oral research presentation is Dr. Michael Joseph Dino. Professor Dino is an active member of the Philippine Nurses Association, Philippine Nursing Research Society, Healthcare Information System Society in Asia Pacific and New York, Philippine Society of Geriatrics and Gerontology, Beta Nu Delta Honor Society of Nursing, and Phi Delta Kappa International. He earned a PhD degree in Development Studies, graduating summa cum laude, Master of Arts in Nursing, major in Adult Nursing, graduating summa cum laude and earning an honorary degree of Meritissimos, and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree with honors. At present, he teaches various nursing subjects and courses in his affiliation and functions as an academic consultant for nursing informatics in the Philippines. He administratively works as the Research and Innovation Director of the Our Lady of My University Research, Development and Innovation Center, and Informatics Coordinator, Nursing Care Management Coordinator, and Managing Editor of the Fatima University Research Journal, and Coordinator for the International Training Center of the American Heart Association. His passion for research is evident on his active participation and presentation to various research conferences locally and abroad. He was chosen by the Rotary International as one of the Philippine Ambassadors of Goodwill for the District 3800 Group Study Exchange 2011 in Japan. He is also one of the global winners, first Asian to receive the Nurse in the Limelight Innovator Award by Sanofi and Connecting Nurses in partnership with the International Council of Nurses, the Nurse Practitioner Healthcare Foundation, the Secretaria Internacional de Enfermeras de el Espace Francophone, and the Association France pour le Développement de l'Éducation Thérapeutique in 2012. Pardon my French. In 2013, she was recognized by Apple Company as one of the Global Apple Distinguished Educators, joining the exclusive elite group of tertiary educators with successful integration of technology of learning. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Michael Joseph Dino. All right, so let's move now to our judges for the research poster competition. First, we have Dr. Nuna Almazor, currently the Executive Director of the Adamson University Center for Research and Development. She coordinates the conduct of faculty and student research, provide operational funds for research, attendance to local and international conference and paper presentation, and publication to refereed journals. She represents the university in higher education institutions, consortiums, and collaborative research undertakings. Dr. Almazor was the first lady director of the Industrial Technology Development Institute of the Department of Science and Technology, where she has been serving the OST for 42 years, which dates back to 1972 when she joined the then National Science and Development Board. As the director of the said institute, Dr. Almazor plans, programs, coordinates, and supervises the multidisciplinary activities of the institutes with almost 400 manpower complement. She provides central direction in the formulation of science and technology policies, goals, mission, and major programs of the agency, establishes and maintains beneficial linkages with public and private scientific, technological, and academic institutions locally and internationally for the advancement of science and technology. She provides overall leadership in the implementation of rules and regulations necessary to carry out policies and objectives and to ensure effective administration, coordination, and review of the activities and operation of the institute, and performs other duties that may be assigned from time to time by the Secretary of the OST. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nuna Almazor. Our next research poster competition judge is Ms. Cherry Maramag, who works in public health nutrition research, epidemiology, biostatistics, project management, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. She is currently pursuing her degree in the Doctor of Public Health in the track of epidemiology at the University of the Philippines, Manila. She earned her Master of Science in Nutrition in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition in University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Ladies and gentlemen, our second research poster competition judge, Ms. Cherry Maramag. And our third judge for the research competition is Mr. Oscar Vic Santonino. He is a holder of BS Public Health and Master of Science in Epidemiology at the University of the Philippines, Manila College of Public Health. Mr. Santonino also is the project coordinator for monitoring and evaluation Philippine Coalition Against Tuberculosis, Public-Private Mixed Dots, initiative project of the Global Fund Against AIDS, TB, malaria, technical performance of the Provincial Coordinating Committees in 2011. And also, he has been the research associate or assistant in the health research on the following health research and development projects, such as the private provider study on TB dots, a survey on support value in terms of PhilHealth's case managed payment and no balance billing policy, joint program review on the National Tuberculosis Prevention and Control Program. Currently, he is the faculty in the Senior High School of Basic Education Department of Santa Isabel College of Manila, a resource person for the World Health Organization Regional Office of the Western Pacific, where he worked in the fields of non-communicable disease and the expanded program for immunization from 2008 to 2015. And also, he is the consultant of the Regulatory System Strengthening World Health Organization Regional Office of the Western Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Oscar Vic Santonino. Next, we have our photography competition judges. We have 4. First, we have Professor Babsi Morabe. He is an associate professor of Far Eastern University, Department of Communication, handling courses in radio and TV production, ICT, photography, events management, and speech communication. He's also the coordinator for the Media Center, providing multimedia services to internal and external clients of the university. His main work as Media Center Coordinator is content creation for social media and various platforms. Before his stint in FU Manila as an academic and production head, he was a segment producer for GMA7 Incorporated, as we know, a local TV network in the Philippines. And he has also worked as an editorial assistant for Sunstar News Service, a wires news agency. Babsi's interest in photography has taken him to study the genre in a semiotic approach. His graduate thesis was the perception of leadership through newspaper photographs, which he presented in the City University of Hong Kong way back in 2014. In addition, he is also into toy photography, where he recreates scenarios in movies using action figures. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Babsi Morada. Next, we have Professor David Corpus. David Corpus is a PhD candidate at De La Salle University and has an MA Media Studies film degree from UP Diliman. His short film, The Ordinary Things We Do won the Special Jury Prize at the 2014 Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival. The same film was nominated for Best Short Film at the 2015 Gawad Urian Awards and was officially selected at the 2014 X-Gown Film Fest in Wiesbaden, Germany, and 2015 Singapore International Film Festival. He also served as the co-director of Kusina, Cinemalaya 2016 finalist and recipient of nomination from 2017 FAMAS and PMTC Star Awards, and the producer for Kuya West, Cinemalaya 2018 finalist. He is a fellow at the 2017 Fantastic Film School at Pucheon, South Korea. A lecturer at Far Eastern University Manila and De La Salle University, David will also direct his first solo feature film, Separate for Cinemalaya in 2020. So that's something that we will be looking forward to. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Corpus. And the third judge is myself. I am Dr. Jerome Cleofas. I'm a registered nurse and a health social scientist. And I earned my BS nursing degree at Far Eastern University, where I graduated cum laude, and I pursued my MA in nursing in St. Paul University, Manila, majoring in clinical management, where I served also as a full-time faculty member and a planning coordinator up until 2019. I received my PhD in sociology degree at De La Salle University, Manila, where I am currently affiliated now, majoring in family health and population dynamics. Currently, I am the Graduate Studies Program Coordinator of the Behavioral Sciences Department of the College of Liberal Arts of De La Salle University. In terms of research, I have presented and published research in terms of stigma, mental health, gender, health, social sciences, and behavioral studies. In terms of my life in the arts, I am a performance artist. I do spoken word, and I've won 3 independent poetry slams. And also, I am a songwriter, and I've been a part of the 2014 Elements Songwriting Camp, which is directed by no other than the National Artist for Music, Ryan Cayabyab. And I won a national songwriting competition way back in 2006, which is organized by ABS-CBN. Our 4th photography competition judge is Ms. Catherine Romero, is currently an Associate Director for Health Services Outcomes Research of St. Luke's Medical Center, Quezon City and Global City. She has over 15 years of work experience in health management, quality and patient and research and data science. She graduated Bachelor of Science in Biology at the University of the Philippines, Manila, where she also earned her master's in hospital administration. She also finished Master's of Science in Public Health at the UERMMCI. She is a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt from Ateneo de Manila University Graduate School of Business. She also completed Basic Management Program and Management Program for the Institute of Management. She is the chairman for resource mobilization of MMHRDC. She has over 5 years of experience in events management and has planned over hundreds of weddings, birthdays, and corporate events. And we know this because she is also one of our events manager in our previous MMHRDC events. She takes recreational classes on her free time, including photography, with her daughters as her favorite subject. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Catherine Romero. All right, so I'm so happy to know that most of our judges, all of our judges are very competent at their craft and at their specific disciplines, and of course, in terms of research, we will be having a lot we will be looking at their minds later in the research presentations that we will be having for this morning. Okay, so without further ado, I think we have to go to the main meat of our research webinar and research conference. So we will now have our virtual oral presentation. For the undergraduate category, the Q&A moderator will be Mr. Gino Antonio Lagrosa, from the clinical research supervisor from the Asian Eye Institute. All right, so let's begin our virtual oral presentation for the undergraduate category. Our first presenter is Aini G. Hipolito from Adamson University, and the title is Examining Failures and Resiliency of a Community-Managed Drug Outlet, Insights from Consumers' End.
Good afternoon. I am Amy Hipolito, the presenter of the project entitled Examining Failures and Resiliency of Community-Managed Drug Outlets, Insights from the Consumer's End. As part of GMA's 10-point legacy program, the Botica ng Barangay under Administrative Order 64, Series of 2003, was relaunched, which aims to make medicines more accessible and affordable to underserved locations. BNB, however, was marred with these internal issues, resulting to the unsustainability of the BNB as a program, hence its failure. This study aims to examine the failure of Botica ng Barangay from the point of view of the consumers living in urban and rural areas, specifically from first, third, and fifth-class municipalities. And for the specific objectives, we will analyze the consumer's purchasing power, medicine demand, expectation, and to propose possible pathway for the BNB's improvement. For the methodology, we conducted focus group discussions and in-depth interviews with former 9 BNB consumers and 2 BNB operators per barangay. Consent forms were given prior to the interview, then these voice files were converted into transcripts and translated into English language before thematically analyzed and interpreted. And here are the results of our findings. Consumers' purchasing power. Participants were asked how they solve their health problem when it arises and gave us 2 major themes. First is they are seeking payment free on health. Due to financial concerns, most participants rely on health centers where they can have their free checkup and medicines. Others rely on complementary and alternative medicines like consulting spiritual healers and using herbal medicines such as Lagundi for cough, as it's almost free in payment and more accessible. Second theme is affordability as their topmost consideration when buying medicines. Due to limited budget, consumers tried going to the BNB and patronized it due to proximity, cheap medicines, and credit accessibility. However, despite of medicines affordability, some participants do not have purchasing power to buy medicines prescribed to them. They tried loaning and promised to repay the amount afterwards. Consumers' perception of BNB. We've come up with 3 different themes in these sections. BNB was perceived as a small drug outlet with limited medicines, but the consumers highly regarded the services provided by its operators. Meanwhile, consumers living in urban areas preferred branded medicines for its efficacy, although it is more expensive than generic ones. Accessibility was not a problem because there are several well-known drug establishments to choose from, and they also believed that the medicines sold there were more effective. Participants were surprised, clueless, and dismayed about the sudden closure of BNB in their communities. Moreover, they had suspicions as to why it closed, such as bankruptcy due to unpaid credits. The participants expressed their disappointment and sadness about the closure of BNB since it helped them to access affordable medicines they needed. According to former BNB operators, there were several factors contributed to the struggles of the BNB, such as the community's low purchasing power and unrevolvement of funds. Because the consumers in these areas are financially struggling, they opt to loan the medicines that even after several years of BNB's closure, these credits are still left unpaid. Consumers' medicine demand. One common concern emerged from this discussion. It is the ideas of a good and responsive BNB. Participants suggested the addition of medicines such as for treating allergies, asthma, diarrhea, diabetes, hypertension, goiter, arthritis, vertigo, and antibacterial preparations for children. So when these medicines are needed, they can readily purchase. They also suggested the inclusion of commodities similar to several drug establishments as an additional income for the BNB. According to former BNB operators, an ideal BNB should have good location with sufficient supplies of quality and affordable medicines. Its operator should be a registered pharmacist assisted by trained barangay health workers And a BNB should also provide monitoring services such as for blood pressure and for glucose. For the conclusion, it is revealed that informal business environment and financial unsustainable practices led to its failure, and not the three variables. However, this health program is essential and should be revived with new policies such as medicine subsidy that would help augment the medicine needs of consumers living in JIDA and low-income municipalities. The researchers recommend that policies should be revived to minimize out-of-pocket medicine expenditures through PhilHealth or support from the local government units. Second is that necessary trainings or standardized training manuals should be provided to BNB and its personnel. Third is to encourage pharmacists to engage in BNB operations by giving reasonable honorarium or incentives. Fourth is that medicines available in the BNB should be based on calculated disability-adjusted life years of people living in the community and not based on the top cost of mortality and morbidity. Thank you for listening, and I am now ready to answer your questions relating to our study.
Okay, so thank you so much. Now we will have our next virtual oral presentation, and it's entitled Glycotyping on N-glycans between normal and quinolone-induced liver cancer cells for tumor-associated carbohydrate antigen discovery. And the proponent for this specific research is Gabriela Iliona Hanairo from De La Salle University.
Good day to everyone. I am Ilona Hanairo, and today I will be presenting our study entitled Glycotyping of N-glycans between normal and quinoline-induced liver cancer cells for tumor-associated carbohydrate antigen discovery. There are so many diseases afflicting us humans, and according to the Global Burden of Disease, the most comprehensive epidemiological study, cancer is the second leading cause of death of the world population. And in the Philippines, these are the top 5 cancer diseases. Although liver cancer is only on the 4th spot, when we focus on the ratio of deaths and number of cases, it now ranks number 1. And out of these top 5 cancer diseases, it is the only one without an early detection method. And early detection is important because it increases the chances of successful cancer treatment exponentially. So what can we use in the early detection of liver cancer? Glycans. Glycans are sugars attached to proteins or lipids, and they are abundantly found on the surface of cells. And they can either be an N-glycan or an O-glycan. And this is the typical chemical structure of glycans. However, they are tedious to write in the full form. So they are typically illustrated as shapes with corresponding colors, wherein each shape is symbolized by a specific sugar, monosaccharide sugar. And glycans are very sensitive to biological changes. Thus, it is not surprising that cancer cells are characterized by an altered glycosylation pattern with respect to the normal cell where it was derived. And the objective of our study is to compare the N-glycome between the normal and liver cancer cells. N-glycome refers to the total N-glycan expression of a cell. What we want in this study is to be able to differentiate the cancer cells from the liver cells by just looking at their glycan expressions. And then, this could then lead to the discovery of glycan biomarkers for the early detection of liver cancer. For the methodology, first, we performed quinoline treatment to get cancer cells. We injected one mice group with quinoline, a carcinogenic substance, and the other mice group we injected with water to get healthy liver cells. And then we performed liver examination and micronucleus test every 2 weeks in order to check the progression of the liver damage. And at the end of the treatment, when liver cancer cells have already been developed, we then sacrificed the mice and obtained their livers. The livers were subjected to the extraction of glycoproteins, and then the glycans were extracted through glycoblotting. The samples were analyzed using MALDI-TOF MS. All the glycan structures we obtained from the MS spectra were then grouped according to their corresponding types, and these are the results. As you can see, both the cancer-induced group and the control group have the complex type, hybrid type, and high mannose type. But the hybrid type was significantly higher in the control group relative to the cancer-induced group. And another interesting result is that the bisecting type and glycan was only found in the cancer-induced group. And these are the structures of the bisecting type glycans, which are from the LRP2. So in conclusion, there is a remarkable difference in the glycan expression between normal and liver cancer cells. Bisecting type glycans are possible tumor-associated carbohydrate antigen biomarkers for the early detection of liver cancer, since they are exclusively found in the cancer-induced group. And for the future researchers, we recommend to verify the glycan structures using more advanced methods like tandem mass spectrometry, and to increase the time frame of tumor induction in order to get larger tumors. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, Ms. Hanairo. Now we will move to our third and last undergraduate presenter for this morning to present the research entitled Spiritual Well-Being and Life Satisfaction. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Superiano from Manila Central University.
Good day, everyone. I am Catherine Superiano from Manila Central University. My research was entitled Spiritual Well-Being and Life Satisfaction of Senior Citizens. Project description: spiritual well-being is the state of being happy, healthy, and successful in terms of deep sense of being, one with good relationship with others, personal connection with a God, and to environment that makes one to live in a purposeful life. According to studies, it showed that whoever was more self-conscious and more optimistic with a combination of higher spirituality has a higher measure of life satisfaction. So this study was conducted to know the spiritual well-being and life satisfaction of senior citizens from 2 barangay in Quezon City. This is regarded helpful for the senior citizens, healthcare workers, social welfare organizations, churches, families, and future researchers. Objectives of the project: 1. To determine the demographic profile of the senior citizens based on the following: age, sex, civil status, and economic status. 2. Determine the level of spiritual well-being and life satisfaction of the respondents. 3. To analyze the relationship between the demographic profile of the respondents and their level of spiritual well-being. 4. Analyze the relationship between the demographic profile of the respondents and their level of life satisfaction. Lastly, to assess the relationship between the level of spiritual well-being and life satisfaction of the respondents. Methodology. It is a quantitative correlational study. It is a purposive, convenient sampling technique. It was conducted in 2 barangays in Quezon City and there are 30 respondents. The Tagalog translation of the standardized test was used, such as Spiritual Well-Being Questionnaire, Spiritual Health and Life Orientation Measure by John Fisher, and Life Satisfaction Index for Third Age short form made by Andrew Barrett and Peter Merck. Results: most of the respondents aged 70 to 74 years old, they are female and has a household income of 5,000 pesos and below and are widowed. They have a very high level of spiritual well-being. Next, respondents have an average level of life satisfaction. All of the demographic profile have no significant correlation with the spiritual well-being. Next, only sex among the demographic profile has a significant correlation with the level of life satisfaction. Lastly, there is no significant relationship between the level of spiritual well-being and life satisfaction. There's only weak correlation coefficient. Conclusion: the research locale include residents in the barangay in Quezon City. Most of them get their pension from the government. Females are more active in barangay activities and they volunteer as leaders or workers. They have a high level of religiosity as manifested on their celebration of several religious activities, which makes their connection with God higher. Also, bayanihan, pakikipagkapwa, and being makatao are some of their Filipino values. Most senior citizens have achieved their goals since then and are satisfied with them. However, they still want to improve some areas of their lives. They have grown in wisdom and are experienced throughout their lives. It could be one of the factors why they have an average level of life satisfaction. Lastly, senior citizens may have very high level in spiritual well-being, but that doesn't mean they will also have a very high level of life satisfaction. Recommendations: future researchers can add a religious affiliation in the demographic profile, and they can have a larger pool of respondents to have more variety in the results. Churches and spiritual leaders may help senior citizens to maintain their level of spiritual well-being by continuing and creating more spiritual activities. Lastly, future researchers may utilize other spiritual well-being and life satisfaction tools to cover other domains of these variables. Thank you. I am Catherine Superiano from Manila Central University, and again, my research was entitled Spiritual Well-Being and Life Satisfaction of Senior Citizens. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much, Ms. Superiano. Now, we will move on to the question and answer segment of the undergraduate category for the virtual oral presentation. And with that, may I call on our Q&A moderator for the undergraduate category, Mr. Gino Antonio Lagrosa, Research Supervisor at the Asian Eye Institute.
Thank you, Dr. Jerome, and thank you to our undergraduate presenters. Good morning to everyone, and again, I'm Gino Lagrosa from the Asian Eye Institute, and I hope that all were able to appreciate the studies done by these budding researchers. We will now begin with the question and answer portion of the competition. As a reminder to our judges, each will be given the opportunity to ask one question per presenter. I will be calling your name to signal your turn to unmute, turn on your video, and ask your question. Let us start with our first undergraduate research from Adamson University presented by Ms. Amy Hipolito. Ms. Hipolito, you may turn on your camera and unmute. And to our panel, You can now address Ms. Hipolito for your questions. Let us start with Ms. Dr. Mary Ann Ladia.
Hello.
Good morning po.
Yes. Good morning. Ms. Hipolito, I was wondering the importance of studying BNBs 9 years after they are temporarily closed.
The importance po is it is big a big help for the especially for the GIDA areas in having their medicine needs, in supplying their medicine needs po.
I think I'm
It will be a very big help po.
yes, even if it's already temporarily closed, does it mean that there will be BNBs later?
We are proposing po to relaunch the Butika ng Barangay po with the help of the government. We recommend the relaunching or to bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ladia. Dr. Lazaro, your question, please.
Sorry. Hello, Aini.
Yes,
I'm not sure if
good
I'm
morning po.
Yeah. Hey, hello. Good morning. Mine is more of a comment to your presentation and to your paper. First, I want to thank you for doing a research on that, I think, very relevant topic, something relevant not just to health, but also to the communities. Maybe just some suggestions. What is that? I'm interested to know your other themes or other answers to the themes. Thus, it may be good to include a table, like you have the theme, then you have the sample answer, so that the readers can also appreciate the other answers of your subjects or your participants in the study.
The paper po kasi is submitted, it's not yet revised po because it's due to the deadline, and
It's okay. So you may want to consider incorporating that.
Yes.
All right. And another suggestion is that you also put it aside from TESDA. Maybe you can also recommend that BNB partners with private nonprofit institutions or even social enterprises to provide them technical details so that they can be more sustainable. All right. And maybe consider also alignment of terms, because in your title, you use community managed drug outlets, right? Then in your paper, it's mostly B&B. So you have to choose which one you're going to use just for alignment purposes. Okay?
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Dr. Lazaro. Dr. Dino, for your question.
Okay, so congratulations, Miss Amy, for that presentation. And considering that this is a qualitative study and generalizability is an issue, what measures did you deploy to ensure trustworthiness of your research outcomes?
Kindly please repeat po, sir.
Okay, I'm interested to know what measures did you deploy to ensure the trustworthiness of your research outcomes in qualitative research?
We conducted po, sir, the pure qualitative, which we interviews, focus group discussions for the consumers, and in-depth interviews po for the barangay health workers and the officials. And we've used po the three variables, the purchasing power, the perception, and the medicine demand po of the consumers.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, judges, and thank you, Ms. Hipolito. You may now turn off your video and your mic. We'll now go to the next presenter for the question and answer portion. From De La Salle University is Ms. Gabriela Hanairo. Ms. Hanairo, please turn on your video and unmute. And Dr. Lazaro, let us start with your question.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello po. Good morning.
Good morning. Maybe my question is, how can you say that the results are significant? Significant.
Performed ANOVA po. Hello po. Yung pong significant difference to
Yeah.
see if there
Okay.
is a significant difference, we performed ANOVA. Tapos po, dahil dun lang sa cancer-induced group, nakita yung bisecting type and glycans, we think that it is a possible biomarker
Okay.
because it is unique to the cancer cells.
All right.
Yes po.
Maybe it will be good to write that or re-emphasize that in the paper. All right. And I also suggest that if you can make your if you're gonna still revise your paper, I suggest you make it more friendly to the audience because there may be a lot of technical terms there, and remember you have to consider the lay people who might read the paper. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lazaro. Dr. Dino, for your question, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jerome, and congratulations to the group. So this is a very interesting study, and indeed, experimental studies require a robust methodology and compliance to existing standards. So can you share to me your research experience in collaboration with the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee of your institution?
Before conducting the study, we sought the approval of the Research Ethics Office of DLSU. Tapos, yun po, we performed once we had the go signal. So, we obtained mice from our ITM. Tapos po, inacclimatize sila. We gumawa po ng mga cages. Minake sure na yung animal house conducive for our research. Tapos yun po, the whole study was for 12 weeks po for the determination of the lethal dose 50, the induction of the liver tumors, then yun po.
Okay,
Then
excellent.
the
Thank you.
samples po,
Yeah.
yung pinadala po sa collaborator po ng advisor ko sa Hokkaido University sa Japan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dino, for your question. How about you, Dr. Ladia?
Good morning. Can you please explain the contribution of your research to knowledge and probably clinical practice in the future? In other words, the significance of your study to a layman, like somebody who is not into this field.
Yes po. So, since may nakita po kami na unique glycan structures sa cancer cells, na nakita po namin kasi maliit pa lang po sila. So, and that could then be markers for liver cancer. Sa ngayon po, ay ginawa namin yon sa mga mice. Are also found in humans. Is it also reflected in human samples? And if so, it could be for the diagnostics. Kasi po, yung
Nawala siya.
Okay, I think Ms. Hanairo got disconnected. So while we're waiting for Ms. Hanairo to reconnect, I think we'll proceed with the next, our last presenter to face the judges. Is from Manila Central University, Ms. Catherine Superiano. So you may turn on your video and your mic. And let us start with the Q&A with you, Dr. Dino, for your question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gino. Um, I congratulate the group for coming up with this very interesting study as we celebrate, of course, the road to super seniors, the science of aging. So this study utilizes senior citizens as study
Sorry,
respondents,
naputol.
and they are considered as vulnerable group. I am interested to know how the group ensures protection of our vulnerable senior participants. Researchers?
Good morning to all.
Morning.
Where am I? Am I open?
Uh,
I am. And good
yes,
morning lahat.
Miss Catherine, did you get my question?
Again, sir. Sorry.
Okay. So here in the Philippines, researchers and research needs to comply with the standards of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. And considering that your research utilizes senior citizens, and as we all know, senior citizens are vulnerable participants. So how did you ensure that you protect the rights of our participants in your study?
Of course, I sent them with the tools. I have my consent form, and I also sent the consent form from the barangay captain and from the president of the Office of the Senior Citizens. And they have my grant. They grant my letters, and including the consent form, they have the rights to continue or to withdraw from the research or to participate in the study. And they also have the right, uh, including in that tool is my contact numbers, and they can ask. They are free to ask questions from me, and I see. I I help them to answer the questions by reading the tools aloud, because since most of them have a difficulty in reading, I read it to them aloud
Okay.
without answers.
Okay, okay, thank you. Can you mention something about the role of the Institutional Ethics Review Committee in your institution?
Like, for example, sir,
Did you coordinated with the Institutional Ethics Review Committee of your institution prior to data gathering?
no, sir, I just sent, I just submit an consent form to our advisor, to my research professor po. Yun
Okay.
po.
Thank you,
And
Miss Catherine. Thank you, Miss
yes,
Catherine.
okay po, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dino, for your question. Dr. Ladia, your question for Mr. Periano.
Catherine, may I ask if the tools Shalom and LSITASF were validated in the Philippines?
Yes po. Uh, my Filipino professor and I translated it into Tagalog because it's for community purposes, and it underwent pilot testing, and it has a high alpha value that makes it standard test, and it has an alpha value of 0.911, so it can be used uh, to my research.
Thank you, and thank you to the three presenters, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ladia. Dr. Lazaro, for your question to Ms. Superiano.
Hi, Catherine. My question is actually the same as Dr. Ladia as regards the validity and reliability of the tools you used. I think it was stated in the paper, the reliability of the life satisfaction tool. I'm not sure if you pointed out there the validity of the Shalom tool. So if not, you just state it there. All right. And I also suggest that you include an abstract in your paper.
Uh,
All
in
right.
in the formal thesis po, it has an abstract, and the tool in Shalom po, yung spiritual health and life orientation measure, it was from the author itself, and in the paper, it was translated from Sentro ng Wikang Filipino from University of the Philippines, Manila.
All right. Thank you. And congratulations to all the presenters. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Dr. Lazaro. Thank you, Ms. Catherine Superiano. So, Ms. Gabriela Hanairo was able to reconnect. So we'll just give her a chance to finish her answer to the question posed by Dr. Ladia.
Okay. Yes po. Thank you. Since the proteins yung pinaka sa blood lang para po sa glucose monitoring for diabetes test. If positive pa rin po yung makuhang results for human studies. And that be
All right, so I think Ms. Hanaira is still experiencing some connectivity issues there, but I think we were able to get the gist of what she would like to express. Okay, so there you go. These are the entries for the undergraduate category of the research competition. And we just finished the question and answer portion of the competition. Thank you to our panel of judges and congratulations to our presenters and to their mentors. Back to you, Dr. Jerome.
Thank you so much, Sir Gino Antonio Lagrosa, for that very nice moderation for our question and answer portion for our undergraduate category. And it's nice because when you look into the papers that were submitted and were presented, the topics were very diverse. We have some basic sciences from the work of De La Salle University, and we also have public health research from the work of the first presenter, and then of course the third presenter was more of a psychosocial health research. So we have a diverse set of topics, and then of course we have more topics to come now that we are moving to the professional category of our virtual oral presentation. So we have a total of 6 presentations for the professional category. So let me introduce the first presentation with the paper is entitled "The Efficacy of Banana Stalk Extract Hand Sanitizer in the Quantitation of Microbial Growth." And the proponent of this study is Patrice Nens Arong from the Manila Central University College of Medicine.
Good day to our distinguished board of judges, doctors, innovators, and fellow students. The COVID-19 pandemic has truly overwhelmed the world with its irretrievable damages. It has cost the lives of countless people, outstretched the capacity of healthcare facilities, and has posed enormous health, economic, environmental, and social challenges to the human population. Hand washing, a seemingly basic step, but is a powerful tool in preventing the spread of infections, hence can facilitate the reduction of the spread of COVID-19. In line with this, it is my great honor and privilege to present to you our research entitled "The Efficacy of Banana Stalk Extract Hand Sanitizer in the quantitation of microbial growth. The study in the efficacy of the banana stalk extract offers not only as an alternative product solution, but it is in finding ways to have a hand sanitizer that has no adverse effect on our skin like dryness. Especially this time of pandemic, wherein frequent use of hand sanitizers became a new normal as to address the health protocols in the community. The general objective of this research is to determine the efficacy of Saba banana Musabal stock extract as hand sanitizer. The following are the specific objectives. The research design used is the double-blinded randomized clinical trial, and PRT test was used as statistical analysis. The experiment began with the process of procurement of banana stock and preparation of hand sanitizers as shown in the slide. Total of 54 medical technology students were randomly selected. The dominant hands of the participants were swabbed before and after the application of hand sanitizers. The hand formulations that were used were the water with carbopol as placebo, commercially prepared hand sanitizer, and hand sanitizers with banana stock extracts with concentrations 0.02, 0.04, 0.08, and 0.16%. The different hand sanitizers were blindly allocated to the participants. The sanitizers were contained in a syringe, each containing 3 ml. After application, they were given 2 minutes to air dry before the second swabbing. All the samples collected were stripped in blood agar plate, followed by incubation for 24 hours at 35 to 37 degrees centigrade. To ensure uniformity in application of the hand sanitizers, World Health Organization hand rubbing techniques were also taught to all the participants of the study. Participants were also asked to answer a hand and skin self-assessment tool to assess their hand condition after use of the hand sanitizer. The results showed 100% decrease in bacterial load in 0.04 and 0.16% hand sanitizer with banana stock extract. This is followed by 0.08 commercially prepared hand sanitizer, 0.02, and the placebo. The reduction by the banana stock extract may be attributed to the bioactive components as aforementioned. The variations in bacterial load reduction may be attributed to several factors such as the differences in the actual amount of bioactive compounds present in each hand sanitizer with banana stock extract, efficacy of the extraction method, and the presence of other extractable components that may have certain effects in the reduction. For the zone of inhibition testing, there was 0 millimeter zone of inhibition for all the hand sanitizers. The research yielded the same results with a parallel study such as done on determining antibacterial effects of banana pulp extracts and on phytochemical and antimicrobial analysis of Musa acuminata. Their extracts did not show zone of inhibition against Staphylococcus aureus but showed antibacterial activity against Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Escherichia coli, and Streptococcus species. One of the theories for the phenomenon is the innate varying susceptibility to antibacterial components of the microorganism. For the resulting changes in hand condition post-application, there was no significant change or damage to the skin of the participants. Our study yielded the same results with the studies done wherein the use of ginger-based hand sanitizer did not cause any adverse effects. This supports that hand sanitizers do not cause any untoward changes on the skin conditions such as irritation. Musabal stock extract is effective against certain microorganisms such as Acinetobacter and Klebsiella, based on bacterial load reduction in the hands. All formulations failed to exhibit zone of inhibition against soft or use, and it showed no adverse effects to the skin of the hands of the participant. Among the recommendations to improve this research is to increase the number of participants, use higher concentrations of banana stock extract for better assessment of antibacterial activity against Staphylococcus aureus, use other products such as soaps or another base component for the sanitizer to further test its antimicrobial efficacy. And lastly, to use different concentration levels of the extract. That ends our presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Patrice Nens Arong, for that presentation. Now we move to our second professional category, virtual oral presentation, and it's entitled Physiological and Physical Risks of Falling in Community Dwelling Older Adults with and Without Mild Cognitive Impairment, a cross-section study. And our presenter for this specific study is Dr. Donald Lipardo from University of Santo Tomas.
Good day everyone, I am Donald S. Lipardo and I'm proud to present our study entitled Physiological and Physical Risks of Falling in Community Dwelling Older Adults with and Without Mild Cognitive Impairment. Falling in old age is a serious health problem that could have grave consequences such as fatal and non-fatal physical injuries, psychological problems, economic burden. Preventing falls in old age is targeted by addressing the risk of falling. Mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, is considered a risk factor and a predictor for falls among community-dwelling older adults. MCI is an intermediate state of cognitive function between the typical decline due to the normal aging process and to the deterioration due to dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Aside from the decrease in cognitive faculty, reductions in physiological and physical functions such as sensory motor abilities, balance control, and gait speed also increase the risk of falls among older adults in the community. The objective of our study was to compare the physiological and physical risks of falling among community-dwelling older adults with and without MCI. We hypothesized that older adults with MCI are at a higher risk of falls in the presence of physiological and physical risks compared to those with normal cognition. We conducted an observational cross-sectional study with ethical approval from our university. We recruited community-dwelling older adults consecutively based on the following inclusion and exclusion criteria. To assess physiological fall risk, we made use of the Physiological Profile Assessment, or PPA. It is a valid and reliable outcome measure tool with 5 subtests, namely the visual contrast sensitivity, proprioception, muscle strength, hand reaction time, and postural sway. To examine physical fall risk based on balance, we made use of the Time Up and Go test, which is a reliable and simple test that measures the time it takes a person in seconds to stand from a chair, walk 3 meters, turn around, walk back, and sit again. To assess physical fall risk based on gait speed, we use the 10-meter walk test. The gait speed is a quotient of distance covered in meters and the duration in seconds. The participants perform the test at their preferred speed and their fastest walking speed possible. So these are some examples and pictures on our actual data collection. Out of 300 older adults, 230 were eligible and consented to participate in our study. MCI is highly prevalent at 81.7%. Those with MCI are significantly older in age and have lower years in education. Based on previous studies, those who aren't able to finish high school or secondary education are prone to develop mild cognitive impairment. Considering age as a covariant, we observed that the PPA score of those with MCI are higher compared to those without MCI. Higher PPA score means higher risk for falling or poorer physiological profile. Based on the physical fall risks of balance and gait speed, we can see that those with MCI are slower in completing the time up and go test and are slower in walking speed. However, their difference did not reach statistical significance. This may be attributed to the fact that the physical tests did not include cognitive tasks. Perhaps if done with dual tasking, the difference between the two may be more evident. In conclusion, to answer our objectives, we found that older adults with MCI have a higher risk of falling compared to those with normal cognition because of poorer physiological profile. And considering age as a confounding factor, no significant difference were observed in terms of dynamic balance and gait speed between those with and those without MCI. We found that MCI is highly prevalent. Therefore, aside from exercise, fall prevention programs should include cognitive training. Furthermore, with poorer physiological profile among older adults with MCI, an intervention study on the effects of combining exercise and cognitive training to prevent falls and reduce risk for falls is needed. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lipardo, for that presentation regarding fall risk among older aged individuals. Now let's move on to our next virtual oral presentation, and this is from Manila Central University College of Medicine, and the paper is entitled Cytotoxic Effects of Exornia crassipes or water hyacinth methanolic extract on colorectal cancer, line HCT116, an in vitro study, and the proponent for this paper for this presentation is Ms. Mila Guada May Barcelona.
Good day. I am Mila Guadamay L. Barcelona, and on behalf of my colleagues, I will be presenting our paper entitled Cytotoxic Effects of Acornia crassipes or Water Hyacinth Methanolic Extract on Colorectal Cancer Cell Line HCT116, an in vitro study. Cancer is one of man's most dreaded illnesses with a high mortality rate due to its markedly lacking and relatively expensive forms of treatment. Literature suggests that plant-based alternatives have comparable cytotoxic effects to mainstay medicines. However, studies involving such alternatives against colorectal cancer are only few. Based on global cancer statistics, there are over 1.8 million new colorectal cancer cases in 2018 worldwide, and this comprised 1 in 10 cancer cases and deaths in the same year. According to the Philippine Cancer Society in 2015, it is the 3rd most prevalent type of cancer and the 4th leading cause of death in the Philippines. Herbal medicine has long been a promising alternative to mainstay medicine. Prospects typically involve plants that are harmful or are destructive to the environment. Acornia crassipes is an aquatic weed that usually grows in polluted lakes and rivers. Because of its obstructive and overproductive nature, it poses severe environmental and economic problems in canals, boat navigation, and the fishing industry. Hence, it has been the subject of many studies claiming that it has cytotoxic and anti-tumor properties, among others. These therapeutic activities are believed to be caused by quercetin, a flavonoid with numerous claims regarding its protective effects against some cancers. This study generally aims to determine the cytotoxic effect of Acornia against HCT116, specifically to look into the parameters of the phytochemical properties of water hyacinth extract, to determine the inhibitory concentration and the concentration required for 50% inhibition of the extract, and to compare the cytotoxicities of water hyacinth and doxorubicin. The following steps were performed by the researchers in order to meet the specific objectives. Step 1. Water hyacinth samples were collected from Paco, Manila. authenticated at the Bureau of Plant Industry, and extracted by DOST. Second, the extract was subjected to phytochemical analysis at DOST. Third, HCT 116 cell line culture was obtained from UP Diliman. Step 4, the plant extract and doxorubicin cytotoxicities were determined using MTT assay. Step 5, the cancer cells were subjected to morphological analysis. And finally, data obtained from the experiments were subjected to statistical analysis, specifically t-test. This table shows the results of the phytochemical analysis of the water hyacinth extract. The identified chemical constituents such as the phenols, terpenes, and flavonoids were in line with the study by Tolika and his colleagues in 2017. Here, we can see that there was moderate amounts of flavonoids in our extract. We therefore expected that our target substance, quercetin, a flavonoid, had moderate amounts in our extract as well. This component stops cancer through inhibiting DNA replication. In the same manner, doxorubicin also inhibits carcinogenesis by inhibiting DNA replication. Based on a study performed by Lunera and his colleagues in 2015, a 75.4 inhibition was seen in the hepatic cancer cell line HeLa using 100 micrograms per milliliter of a cornea extract. However, this was not observed in our experiment, as seen in Table 3, wherein the extract and doxorubicin did not exhibit comparable cytotoxicity against HCT 116 cells. To further exemplify this, here are photos of the HCT 116 cells exposed to different treatments viewed under a microscope. Figure A shows the cells before treatment. Figure B shows the cells after treatment with 10 micrograms per deciliter of doxorubicin. In this image, the cells shrunk and did not increase in number. These are signs of apoptosis and inhibition respectively, and were evidences that 10 micrograms per deciliter of doxorubicin was able to stop cancer progression. Comparing this with 100 micrograms per milliliter of water hyacinth extract seen in Figure C. Here, the cells were larger, irregular in shape, had larger nuclei, and were forming syncytia. These are morphological characteristics of cancer cells and indicated that 100 micrograms per ml of the extract was not able to stop cancer progression. Our results may be attributed to the contamination of acornia plants with heavy metals, resulting in the decline of physiological and biochemical activities in our samples, as stated by the Environmental Science and Pollution Research in 2003. This might have affected the quercetin concentration and activity in our samples, affecting our yield. In conclusion, the water hyacinth extract yielded a moderate amount of flavonoids based on the phytochemical analysis, and yielded incomparable cytotoxic effect to the different concentrations of doxorubicin. Hence, as researchers, we recommend measurement of the amount of quercetin in the extract, increasing the concentration of the extract, increasing the sample size, and improving plant constituent isolation and purification methods. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and stay safe.
Thank you so much, Ms. Barcelona, for that presentation about water hyacinths. And let's move on to the next presenter. The title of the presentation is Evaluation of Micronucleus in Exfoliated Human Buccal Epithelium Cells Among E-Waste Exposed Residents in Payatas, Philippines. And the presenter is Dr. Zeba Alam from De La Salle University.
Hello everyone, I am Zeba F. Alam and I'm going to give the presentation whose title is Evaluation of Micronucleus in Exfoliated Human Buccal Epithelium Cells Among E-Waste Exposed Residents at Payatas, Philippines. And this is our team who worked on this problem. So what is e-waste? E-waste comes from all the electronic gadgets that we dump once they reach end of their life. That is, they become dysfunctional or obsolete. According to the UN, an estimated 50 million tons of e-waste are generated per year around the world. The Philippines has to deal with its own mounting e-waste problem and e-waste dumping through shipments from other countries. This e-waste consists of many toxic and hazardous substances such as heavy metals and other organic pollutants. The recycling of e-waste leads to the exposure to the toxic substances present in the e-waste, as informal e-waste recyclers often use crude and unsafe methods such as open air burning and acid baths, etc. to dismantle the e-waste. Prolonged exposure to heavy metals have a cumulative negative impact on human health, which includes cytotoxic, carcinogenic, mutagenic effects, which leads to alteration in the enzymatic activity and development of neurodegenerative diseases. One of the cytotoxic effects is the induction of the micronuclei. Micronucleus is the indicative of either a fragmented or whole chromosomes extruded from the main nucleus during the process of mitosis. Cells of buccal mucosa play a role as the first barrier for inhalation or ingestion route and can metabolize carcinogenic agents to reactive chemical substances. Hence, they are often considered as appropriate site for assessment of early cytogenetic damage, as about 90% of human cancers are epithelial in origin. Since cytogenetic damage in exfoliated buccal epithelial cells due to environmental and occupational exposure can be monitored by micronucleus assay, so we use this method in the present study. Hence, the objective of the studies are to observe the genotoxic effects in terms of presence of micronuclei in the buccal epithelium cells of the e-waste recyclers, to evaluate the efficiency and sensitivity of the micronuclei in the buccal epithelium technique for screening and monitoring of the health status of the e-waste recyclers with respect to the toxicity of the e-waste. All the pictures that you see in this slide have been taken by our team at the e-waste dump site. As far as the methodology is concerned, the experiment was carried out in 3 phases. In phase 1, after obtaining the clearance from the ethics committee, the demographic profile of the respondents was collected using the consent form, and the questionnaire was prepared according to the prescribed guidelines. Control group consisted of adults who were not e-waste recyclers and lived outside the study area and Metro Manila, for example, the area of Calabarzon. In the case of e-waste exposed group, it consisted of adults who lived in Barangay Payatas, Quezon City in Metro Manila and are currently engaged in e-waste recycling. In phase 2, the collection of samples was done. The exfoliated buccal epithelium cells were collected through swabbing method after making the participants rinse their mouth thoroughly. The swabbed buccal mucosa cells were suspended in saline solution, and then they were brought to the lab in sealed tubes stored in ice. The further processing of samples was carried out in the lab, whereby the cells were fixed and then stained in GIMSA, and the micronuclei were observed under the microscope at high magnification. The data obtained was subjected to statistical analysis such as chi-square test, t-test, to interpret the results. The linear regression model was used to compare the prevalence of micronucleated cells and the length of exposure in the e-waste group. As far as the results are concerned, significant number of single to multiple micronuclei were observed in the buccal epithelium in the exposed group as compared to the control group. In terms of the abnormal cells, there was a significant difference between the control and the exposed group, with high numbers of abnormal cells observed in the e-waste exposed group. Only the exposure groupings and the length of e-waste exposure were found to be significantly associated in terms of the number of normal cells and micronucleated cells. The linear regression analysis drawn from participants' length of e-waste exposure for having a significant R value of 0.7346 confirmed a strong association between the length of e-waste exposure and the number of micronuclei, whereas the length of e-waste exposure increased, the number of micronuclei found in the participants increased as well. So to conclude, the e-waste exposed persons located at Payatas are at the possibility of getting adverse health risks due to the exposure to genotoxins from the e-waste, as evident by the elevated levels of micronuclei in the buccal epithelium. Therefore, regular biomonitoring of the e-waste recyclers located at this site is highly recommended. The strong correlation between the length of exposure and the increase in the number of micronuclei shows that long exposure to genotoxins such as heavy metals and other hazardous substances in the e-waste can lead to adverse health effects. Micronuclei in the buccal epithelium is a non-invasive method that can be efficiently and easily used as one of the methods to get preliminary information about the health status of the respondents. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alam, for that presentation. And we will now move on to the fifth presentation, which is entitled The Effectiveness of Topical Oxygen Therapy in Wound Healing of Patient with Diabetic Foot Ulcer. And the study proponent who's going to be presenting to us is Marvin Queg from Central Escolar University.
Good day. Today I'm going to present to you our research entitled The Effectiveness of Topical Oxygen Therapy in Wound Healing of Patients with Diabetic Foot Ulcer. My name is Marvin Queg together with Dr. Josephine De Leon. And now, let's begin. Diabetes mellitus can lead to peripheral vascular disease resulting in a hypoxia to the distal area of the body, making wound healing ineffective and can lead to diabetic foot ulcer. Topical oxygen therapy is an evidence-based treatment for diabetic foot ulcer that may increase the wound healing process. So for the objective of this study, this research determined the effectiveness of topical oxygen therapy in wound healing of patients with diabetic foot ulcer. These interventions can be beneficial to diabetic patients with chronic wounds and may even prevent amputations. For the methodology of this study, this research is a quantitative type of research with experimental design, which includes 60 patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. The Wagner-Medgit wound classification system is the tool that was utilized in this study. It is a standardized tool that describes the severity of diabetic foot ulcer based on the size and depth of the lesion. An inter-rater reliability test was performed between the physician counterpart and the researcher to assess the agreement in the wound assessment of patient. The result shows that there is a moderate agreement between the researcher and the physician counterpart using the said tool. Upon securing the consent for the qualified participants, based on the set inclusion criteria, they are divided into two groups using a randomized systematic sampling technique. The control group received the usual care for diabetic foot ulcers such as flushing of normal saline, removing of purulent discharges, changing to prescribed dressing, and relieving from pressure. The experimental group, on the other hand, received the same usual wound care for diabetic foot ulcer and then the application of the topical oxygen therapy. Topical oxygen therapy is administered by encapsulating the affected area using a modified plastic bag, and the oxygen was delivered for 10 liters per minute for a period of 90 minutes for 14 consecutive days. Both control and the experimental group are assessed every 7 days to document the changes in their wound status using the Wagner-Medgit wound classification system. All other factors such as nutrition and medications are considered in this study. This is the actual image of the application of topical oxygen therapy using a modified plastic bag for a patient who is suffering from a diabetic foot ulcer. So for the result of this study will be presented using a bar graph. The blue color represents the control, while the color orange represents the experimental group. The graph showcases the mean wound grade of both groups during day 0, day 7, and day 14 of the study. As we can see, the control group shows an upward trend on the graph, which can be interpreted as the mean wound grade of patients under the control group are increasing in severity. On the other hand, the experimental group shows a downward trends on their mean wound grade, which can be interpreted as an improvement in their mean wound status. To further analyze the significant changes in the wound status of patient under the control group before and after the application of usual care for 14 days, Friedman's test was used. The results have shown that there is no significant changes on the wound status of patient under the control group before and after the usual care was done for 14 consecutive days. The experimental group was also analyzed using the same statistical method to assess the significant changes on their wound status before and after the application of usual wound care plus the topical oxygen therapy. The results have shown that there is a significant changes in the wound status of patient under the experimental group after the intervention has been implemented for 14 consecutive days. In comparing the wound status of patient between the control and the experimental group, Mann-Whitney U test was utilized. On day 0, the result shows that there are no significant difference in the wound status of patient under the control and the experimental group. The significant differences between the two groups started at day 7 of the study with a p-value of 0.019 less than 0.05 level of significance. Upon assessing the wound status of patient on day 14, the p-value shows 0.000 less than 0.05, which can be interpreted as there is a significant differences in the wound status of patient between the control and the experimental group. In conclusion, topical oxygen therapy has shown to be effective in promoting wound healing of patients with diabetic foot ulcer, provided that the patients are compliant with their medication and normal blood sugar is maintained. For the recommendation of this study, institution may consider topical oxygen therapy as an additional treatment for diabetic foot ulcer. Topical oxygen therapy should be done following a proper usual wound care, and institution may provide materials for the application of topical oxygen therapy to deliver a more effective intervention. Healthcare providers can make further research on the development of proper wound care regimen for patients who are suffering from a diabetic foot ulcer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Marvin Queg. And now we will move on to the sixth and the last oral presenter for the professional category with the paper entitled Association of Health Lifestyle Patterns and Academic Performance of Medical Students in a Selected Higher Education Institution in Metro Manila. And our presenter is Maan Gallardo from Manila Central University College of Medicine.
Good afternoon, I am Angel Yerdo, and I'm here to present Association of Health Lifestyle Patterns and Academic Performance of Medical Students in a Selected Higher Education Institution in Metro Manila. Chronic diseases such as hypertension and diabetes are prevalent worldwide, and health education is important in the management of such diseases. Medical students should be aware of their lifestyle patterns, as these could greatly impact their being as role models to their future patients. Reinforcing the curricular design with regards to lifestyle medicine, inculcating healthy behaviors from the beginning of the course can help improve their overall performance. The general objective of the study is to determine the association of health lifestyle patterns with the academic performance of medical students in a selected higher education institution. Its corresponding specific objectives are the following. The methodology of the study is as follows, with particular emphasis on the first 3 steps. We formulated a questionnaire which was pre-tested and validated via Convex Alpha with a score of 0.7, which is considered to be reliable. The Bonafide questionnaire was lifted from WHO and Lioness, and the scoring was lifted from Simple Life questionnaire. The study focused on the 4 major lifestyle aspects, namely diet, smoking, alcohol, and physical activity. The study is a cross-sectional analytical study and was conducted in a selected higher education institution in Metro Manila. We included the officially enrolled students from first year to third year and excluded the fourth year, the investigators, those unable to access their grades, and those currently diagnosed with disease and taking maintenance drugs. We utilized a stratified random sampling method, and the sample size was based off Slovein's formula. The sample size is 179. For the acquisition of grades, the students accessed the AIM student portal, and the investigators obtained the 40% of all the subjects for all year levels and got the average. The data were encoded using SPSS version 10 for Windows and were analyzed through ANOVA and chi-square test. A p-value of less than or equal to 0.05 is considered significant. The results of the study are as follows. Table 1 shows a total of 179 students, with the majority being female, Roman Catholic, and Filipino. Table 2 shows the academic performance with the majority being fair at 46.93%. Table 3 shows the comparison of lifestyle pattern according to your level with emphasis on alcohol consumption as it is marginally significant with a p-value of 0.09. And lastly, Table 4 shows the association of lifestyle patterns and grades with particular emphasis on cigarette and tobacco use, which is significant with a p-value of 0.001. In summary, the use of cigarettes and tobacco had a significant relationship in their grades, and the intake of alcohol has a marginal significant proportion with poor academic performance. Aurelio et al. Stated that tobacco consumption equates to low academic performance. Nicotine is a compound that reaches the brain within 10 seconds of inhalation, which may affect the mental cognition of an individual. Ansari et al. Stated that alcohol consumption equates to poor academic achievement. Hossein et al. Stated that moderate doses of alcohol leads to decrease in academic performance since it is associated with cognitive changes such as confusion, abnormal thinking, and poor decision making. Tapiwala et al. Stated that moderate alcohol consumption causes hippocampal atrophy. The hippocampus is vital for learning and memory. Alcohol contributes to functional memory loss and poor performance in daily life. Lastly, Pero Villert et al. Stated that adolescents with the highest academic performance were the youngest, slept more, and spent less time in using sedentary screen media when compared to those with poor academic performance. In conclusion, there were a total of 179 students, 88 males and 91 females. Majority were Filipinos and Roman Catholic. Generally, there is a fair academic performance at 46.93%. A marginally significant difference was noted with alcohol consumption according to your level as proven by p-value of 0.09. There was a significant association with cigarette and tobacco use with grades as proven by p-value of 0.001. No significant difference was noted in all other parameters. Majority of respondents per lifestyle pattern are intermediate for diet, healthy for cigarette and tobacco use, intermediate for alcohol consumption, and unhealthy for physical activity. Recommendations are to increase the population size, utilize both semesters of the school year, include students unable to view their grades, and to include more questions in the questionnaire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gallardo, for that presentation. Now we move to the next segment, which is the question and answer segment of our professional category virtual oral presentations. And to moderate this is Dr. Madeline Ong, a research professor from the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health.
Thank you, Dr. Jerome. Good morning, everyone. We'd like to thank the participants of the professional category competition for their presentations. May we request all presenters to be ready to turn their microphones and cameras on when they are called upon. In the interest of time, may we request the judges to keep their questions brief, if possible, to stick to one main question or comment, and for the presenters to keep their responses succinct. Now let us begin with the questions that will be addressed to Ms. Patrice Nance Arong, who presented their study entitled The Efficacy of Banana Stalk Extract Hand Sanitizer in the Quantitation of Microbial Growth. Let's begin with Dr. Ladia for her questions.
Congratulations to all. My question to the first group is, what is your inclusion and exclusion criteria?
Good morning, ma'am. For our inclusion criteria, we included the first to fourth year medical technology students, only 54 students, 18-year-old and above. They are randomly selected, and for the exclusion, students with underlying known allergies to plant extracts or other contents of the sanitizer, and students with existing skin lesions or any skin conditions were excluded.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bernardo Lazaro, for her questions.
Hello, Patrice. My questions are, I'm just interested on what commercial sanitizer did you use, or is there a standard preparation for the commercial sanitizer? And my other question is, were you able to note the cost of the commercial using the commercial sanitizer versus the preparation of the banaba stock?
Actually, ma'am, for the commercial sanitizer, um, it is from the department that we have. Um, it
Okay, so it's a standard preparation when they say
Yeah, it is
commercial.
a standard.
Okay.
Yes po.
And how about the cost? Were you able to note the
For the
commercial
cost,
sanitizer?
we haven't able to note the cost.
Okay, thank you. But I think this is a timely study, so thank you for it.
Yes, thank you po.
Thank you, Dr. Bernardo. Dr. Dino, for your questions.
Hi, good morning, Miss Patrice. Our cities must be supported with good theoretical and literature support, as we all know, researchers, right? And may I know your literature support for selecting banana stock over other choices?
For the literature support, we have we have many literatures used, but for the results, for the zone of inhibition testing, our research yielded the same results with the parallel studies, such as done by Jolani on determining antibacterial effects of banana pulp extracts, and Onyema on phytochemical and antimicrobial analysis of Musa acuminate, and their extracts did not show zone of inhibition against staph aureus, but showed antibacterial activity against other microorganisms such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Escherichia coli, and Streptococcus species. Same as our research did not give zone of inhibition. However, for the bacterial load reduction, it showed a bacterial load reduction in Klebsiella and Acinetobacter species.
Okay, thank you. Very good study.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arong. Now let's proceed to the questions that will be addressed to Dr. Donald Lipardo, who presented the study entitled Physiological and Physical Risks of Falling in Community-Dwelling Older Adults with and Without Mild Cognitive Impairment. Maybe this time we can start with Dr. Bernardo Lazaro to give her comments and questions.
Hello, Donald. Thank you
Hi,
for your study. I appreciate when I was reading your paper, I appreciate the alignment of the contents. So it was very fluid as a paper. So congrats on that. Maybe my question is your in your study there are really more patients or subjects who are mildly cognitive impaired, right? Compared to the non MCI. So how do you think this affected the results?
Yeah, actually, that is an incidental finding. We weren't really expecting that the prevalence of MCI is actually that big. Like 81% of our participants were diagnosed with MCI. In terms of comparing the findings of those with MCI and those without, we conducted statistical analysis like testing for normal distribution, for homogeneity of variance, and then therefore we computed for the independent t-test so that properly the findings for the physiological profile and even the physical factors may be computed well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lazaro. Dr. Dino, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ong. Dr. Lipardo, I really appreciate this paper. This is well crafted paper. And one of the strengths of the paper is a critical recognition of the variables that may potentially affect study outcomes. So may I know, doctor, the perceived confounding variables identified in the study and how did you address them?
So one of the biases that might be present is that we conducted a non-probability sampling method. All right, so we just conducted consecutive sampling, so that would be something that might have affected the number of participants in terms of having MCA and those without. And since we just limited our participants among older adults living in the community, particularly in Manila, our findings may not be that generalizable in terms of older adults in rural areas and those with comorbidities. So our findings also are a bit biased on in terms of gender, as more females were recruited, like 76.5% of our participants were females.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Lipardo.
Thank you.
And may we invite Dr. Ladia for her questions and comments.
Yes. Sir, this is regarding your recommendation.
Yes.
Said that the fall prevention program should include cognitive training to address the cognitive decline in MCI. When exactly do we include cognitive training and how?
Thank you for that question, Dr. So currently, the program for preventing falls in our field in physical therapy is that we focus on balance, control, and strengthening of the lower extremity muscles. So I am proposing that aside from giving exercises, we need to incorporate cognitive training. Like if we are to train for strength, right? So aside from doing strengthening exercises, the participants will have to do some cognitive tasks as well, focusing on executive function, memory, attention, and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lipardo. Now let us move on to our third presenter, Ms. Mila Guadame Barcelona. We have questions and comments for you, and you presented the study cytotoxic effects of Eichhornia crassipes or water hyacinth methanolic extract on colorectal cancer line HCT116, an in vitro study. So may we invite Dr. Dino for his questions and comments.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mila, congratulations for your presentation. Equally interesting study. So may I know your rationale for the selection of your positive control?
Good after Doc.
Morning.
Good morning po. Kita po ba? Ayan, sorry po. Hindi
Yes,
po kita
yes, we can
kayo.
see you.
Okay po. So, good morning po, sir. Thank you po for your question. We chose doxorubicin, first of all, because it is, ano po, it's because of its availability, sir. Aside from it being one of the drugs used for colorectal cancer, it is the one most available to us at that time. And so we use that po, and the institute who performed mostly the assay also agreed upon using that drug po, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mila.
Thank you po.
And then maybe invite Dr. Ladia for her questions.
Yes. Just a second. Page 15. Yeah. You said in your recommendation that due to limited facilities, what exactly is the facility that you need to determine or measure the amount of quercetin?
Good morning
And
po, Doc. Um, we were we were looking for a certain facility po that can measure quercetin po as quercetin po as a whole. Kasi po because we were only offered measurement of the general general components po, like flavonoids. So we were ayun, we wanted to look for that po, so that we can correlate po yung effect po correlate the effect of quercetin specifically dun po sa effect po niya on colorectal cancers cells po.
Okay, thank you. Maybe invite Dr. Bernardo Lazaro for her comments.
Hello, Miss Mila. Just a suggestion. Your topic is really interesting. Although there's a lot of maybe technical terms in it. But I just suggest that you just try to align the terms, such as when to use cytotoxic, anti-tumor, apoptosis, so that it will be friendlier to a layman. And having said that, if I were a layman or a layperson, um, in one or two sentences, how would you communicate to me the results of your study?
Um, Thank you po for that, Doc. Uh, I will tell you po that water hyacinth is a very tawag dito, a very not ano po, not really. Not really very harmful, but water hyacinth is a little harmful for our economy po. We want to use this as a resource or a source for fighting colorectal cancer or to stop or prevent colorectal cancer po. Yun. Against a gold standard that is not really let's say financially reachable or and it's quite expensive po. So this is we are looking for a drug or an alternative for this doxorubicin. However, um, our results showed that this water hyacinth or the concentration that we used um, in this study or this plant concentration is not enough to replace this drug, the current drug that we are using. Yan po.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you po.
much.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Ms. Barcelona. Now let us proceed to our fourth presenter. We have questions addressed for Dr. Ziba Alam, who presented the study entitled Evaluation of Micronucleus in Exfoliated Human Buccal Epithelium Cells among E-waste exposed residents in Payatas, Philippines. For this presenter, may we invite first Dr. Ladia for her comments and questions.
Yes, my question is, which agencies are you referring to with your recommendations? Like, who will do what?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm also wondering whom to recommend what. You see, the problem here is, Dr. Marie, that, let me just give you a little background. This is a very long project, and this is just a small part of that long project. It all started with, having a survey about electronic waste. So we all are part of the problem because we all have so many gadgets. And well, we already had many gadgets, refrigerators and TVs and all that. But in the past 20 years, what has increased is the mobile phones, the laptops. Like right now, look at us, we are conducting this whole webinar through a number of gadgets that we have. The problem is that what happens to them when we discard them? So this whole thing started with that. And I happened to visit Payatas and already have published papers about the presence of heavy metals, the presence of organic pollutants in the soil samples from Tondo, so the we found there were the e-waste, its own e-waste, and because here in Philippines, so we get a lot of e-waste from, and these recyclers, they are using these crude methods to recycle.
Okay, I think Dr. Alam got cut off. Maybe we can return to her as we're trying to get her back. Maybe for now we can proceed to the next presenter first. Maybe we can call on Mr. Marvin Queg, who presented
Hello?
Hello?
She's back.
Hello, can I?
Oh, right. We lost you for a while, Dr. Alam. Please proceed. We missed maybe a minute of your spiel.
All right. So what we are trying to work out here is finding techniques and finding methodologies by which we can monitor the health of these people, and also to prevent leaking out of all these hazardous wastes and coming back to people like you and me. So that is the point here. So at the moment, e-waste is part of the solid waste. So we recommend that it should be considered as a separate hazardous waste and it should be dealt separately. So any stakeholders, organizations who are part of the decision making, they should be listening to this and do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alam. Dr. Bernardo Lazaro, would you have any questions?
My question is somehow related to the question of Dr. Ladia. And I just want to know, maybe you can have a short and sweet answer. Do you have an idea whether the employees or those exposed to the e-waste are formally employed or not? Because that will spell the difference about
No,
monitoring.
no. We don't have even a single company here which is doing formal recycling. There was one HMG, and when we tried to contact them, they were not doing any formal recycling. So by and large, Philippines has got 100% informal recyclers.
So maybe you can think of a recommendation related to that.
We did that.
All right.
We have done it, but then we are
I know.
scientists. No, we are more doing things for human health point of view, in the sense that maybe these are the patients which will come to you, and probably you need to keep it in mind that maybe they have cancer because they were e-waste recyclers or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe what I meant is you can also include that in your recommendations to
Sure.
maybe, formalize those techniques.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And finally, Dr. Dino.
Very timely study, Dr. Alam. I really appreciate your paper, considering that I'm really a techie gadget guy. So seriously, this research has a macro impact, especially you mentioned something about the policies. So let's go on the micro perspective. In light of the study findings, what can you suggest to a person who is about to replace and trash out his old device?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I'm still trying to find what can be done about this whole thing. Maybe you see, the way the technology is moving so fast, we are compelled to use the latest gadgets. And this is a major question. And this is not a question which only we are trying to answer. Most of the countries around the world, they are having this problem. So one of the recommendation that I think is that make the companies participate in the recycling process, like Apple and some Samsung. I shouldn't take the names. But the companies they should shoulder the responsibility of helping the developing countries to recycle these things, in a healthy way.
Okay, agree 100%, plus one.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Alam, for your time. Let's proceed with the second to the last presenter. We invite Mr. Marvin Queg to answer the questions of our judges. You presented the study, The Effectiveness of Topical Oxygen Therapy in Wound Healing of Patients with Diabetic Foot Ulcer. So first, may we invite Dr. Bernardo Lazaro for the question.
Hello, Sir Marvin.
Hello, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon. I really find your study very interesting because it's medical. And I just wonder how many oxygen tanks did you consume in treating one diabetic foot? So, and if they have any idea if it how much it will convert to cost.
Okay, thank you for that question, Doctora. I use for every patient that I've encountered, I use approximately at least three large medical tanks, because every session that I have delivered the oxygen therapy, I consume at least 300 pounds of oxygen per day. So a single container or a single cartridge of an oxygen tank contains at least 1,500 to 1,800 pounds of oxygen per tank.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Queg. I invite Dr. Dino for his comments and questions.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Marvin. Okay, so I look into your methodology and I found out that your exposure to oxygen therapy for your um, subjects is 10 minutes for 14 consecutive days. Is that correct?
I think it's 90 minutes po, Doc. 90
Okay,
minutes
90
for 40.
minutes.
Yes po.
Okay. So, what is the basis for the duration of the topical oxygen therapy? And did your group manage to compute for the effect size?
The basis for the 90 minutes is from the literatures that I have gathered. And most of them use the topical oxygen therapy for the lowest minimum amount of 90 minutes. For the computed size, we use the uh, 30 samples for the control and 30 samples for the experimental group as well.
Okay, thank you, Marvin.
And finally, Dr. Ladia.
Okay, Doc, how will you elevate your results, or what will you do next to such that this will be practiced at a larger scale?
I'm sorry, Doc. I believe we have a very bad connection during the question. Can you repeat, please?
Yes, Doc. The question is, since you found out that topical oxygen therapy is effective, how will you elevate your, what will you do next such that this will be practiced at a larger scale? Like, will you recommend a policy? Will you put it in a good clinic, in a clinical practice, or in your society? Will you recommend it? Things like those.
It is like actually a pilot study, and this research would like to further test it into a larger population in order for us to assess how will affect the larger population. So we would like to recommend it to conduct it into a more larger settings compared to our study.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thank
po.
you, Mr. Marvin Pueg. And finally, we have our last presenter. May we call on Ms. Maan Gallardo to address our judges' questions. He presented the study entitled Association of Health Lifestyle Patterns and Academic Performance of Medical Students in a Selected Higher Education Institution in Metro Manila. So for this presentation, may we invite Dr. Dino first for his questions and comments.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Maan. I also appreciated your study and considering that this involves medical students, right? So I would like to know what would be the possible mechanisms involved in cigarette smoking affecting academic performance?
For the use of cigarette and tobacco po, I think the compound that is found on cigarette could greatly impact the academic performance of students since nicotine, as said in the review of related literature, it was mentioned there that it is a compound that reaches the brain that could affect the mental cognitive function of an individual po.
Okay, thank you, Maan.
And now may we call on Dr. Ladia.
To my katukayo, can you tell us more about the ethical considerations of your study, please?
Good morning po. For the ethical considerations of the study po, it was reviewed and accepted by the Institutional Review Board, and we also give informed consents prior to pre-testing and collection of data, and the students were not named as well as the subjects when we were obtaining the grades of the students po.
Okay, thank you. And congratulations to all.
Thank you po.
And finally, Dr. Bernardo Lazaro.
Hello, I'm just interested on how the GPA or the grades were obtained, and looking at your recommendations, what would be practical recommendations that you can give school administrators and maybe medical students given the results of your study?
With regards po sa in obtaining the grades of the students, we provided access to laptops po. And then we asked the respondents to log in to the student portal and obtain the 40% or the average of their subjects for their year level. And then for the recommendations po, I think it would be better to inculcate in the curriculum a specific subject which could help in letting the medical students have a healthy lifestyle po.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to you and the other participants.
All right, we've come to the end of the question and answer. We'd like to thank our judges, Dr. Ladia, Dr. Bernardo Lazar, and Dr. Dino, for their time and for sharing their expertise, not only to determine our winners today, but to sharpen these research studies presented. We also thank our presenters for illustrating to us how research can be so vast and interesting and relevant in the prevention and treatment of infectious and non-communicable diseases, acute and chronic diseases. Now over to Dr. Jerome Cleophas so we can proceed with the rest of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madeline Ong, for that excellent facilitation of the Q&A segment of our professional categories. And I would like to say again, just like the undergraduate category, we've seen a diverse set of topics for our professional category, ranging from water hydrants and bananas to e-waste, and of course some lifestyle issues, and we also talked about diabetes and of course risk for falling elderly. So I think everybody who is attending this webinar, this scientific conference, surely has learned a lot, about this specific topics, diseases, illnesses, and conditions. And hopefully we're all coming out of this conference with more knowledge and more competence, both about the research and the topics that are we talked about. All right. So while we are waiting for our scores to be computed prior to the announcement of winners later for the 3 competitions, we would like to just show you some video presentation while we are doing so.
Helpful in terms of strengthening our collaboration among members in terms of research. De La Salle University has been one of the institutions who was a member of MMHRDC at the very start. Being a member of this organization helped us secure research funding and meet people whom we can collaborate in research.
Before, my researches are all within UP Manila lang, but now I collaborate with other institutions, other partners of those other institutions, and it pushes me to expand my areas of research.
One of the problems that we have in the commission is we have lots of researchers. They are just put into shelves. The goal of MMHRDC is to be able to utilize these researchers.
Commission on Higher Education, we really appreciate MMHRDC in its effort, particularly on research.
It's an eye-opener. It's a venue to meet other like-minded researchers, other internationally known researchers.
Because of MMHRDC, UERM was able to participate to seminars and workshops hosted by MMHRDC, facilitated by local and international speakers.
From the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, we would like to thank and congratulate the Metro Manila Health Research and Development Committee for organizing the Third International Conference. We hope that this conference will inspire our younger generations to pursue careers in the health research and development.
Our Regional Director, Dr. Corazon Flores, we would like to thank and congratulate the Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium for the success of this conference. Patuloy po nating labanan ang non-communicable diseases. Let's accept the challenge, beat NCDs.
The Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium has intensified our culture of camaraderie and continues to inspire us to work together to improve health outcomes through health research and development activities. As one community that has continued to make significant contributions to improve and sustain health science and innovation for the benefit of our country and humanity.
It is my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to the blessing of the latest facility of Our Lady of Fatima University, the Rice Tower.
We offer these state-of-the-art facilities as a venue for learning, ideas generation, collaboration, and skills development. May you use them well as you pursue to become the best version of yourselves.
Fatima started, I remembered, started small, but ngayon po with this rice building, makikita ho natin ang level up, ang degree po ng pag-akyat po ng antas ng edukasyon at syempre the services and programs that they give to their students.
Congratulations, Caroline, to the Santos family and to the family of Fatima. You make us proud. You make Valenzuela very, very proud. And being a senator, whenever I go around the country, I carry the name not only of Valenzuela, but I also carry the name of Fatima University.
Thank you so much, Our Lady of Fatima University. I can proudly say that indeed your mission of improving man as man is real reality.
Seminar on how to get grants and participative environment. Benefits of members. Strengthening of research capacities through complementation and sharing of resources, including training and mentoring arrangements. Access to various human resource and institutional development programs and projects of the MMHRDC and PNHRS. Access to health research and development grants from various sources. Opportunities for collaboration in research projects and programs supported by local and international research grants. And sharing of scientific information through library linkage and similar arrangements.
in terms of strengthening our collaboration among members, in terms of research. The La Salle University has been one of the institutions who was a member of MMHRDC at the very start. Being a member of this organization helped us secure research funding and meet people whom we can collaborate in research.
Before, my researchers are all within UP Manila lang. But now, I collaborate with other institutions, other partners of those other institutions. And it pushes me to expand my areas of research.
One of the problems that we have in the commission is we have lots of researchers. They are just put into shelves. The goal of MMHRDC is to be able to utilize these researchers. Commission on Higher Education, we really appreciate MMHRDC in its effort, particularly on research.
It's an eye-opener. It's a venue to meet other like-minded researchers, other internationally known researchers.
Because of MMHRDC, UERM was able to participate to seminars and workshops hosted by MMHRDC, facilitated by local and international speakers. From the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, we would like to thank and congratulate the Metro Manila Health Research and Development Committee for organizing the third international conference. We hope that this conference will inspire our younger generations to pursue careers in the health research and development.
Our Regional Director, Dr. Corazon Flores, we would like to thank and congratulate the Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium for the success of this conference. Patuloy po nating labanan ang non-communicable diseases. Let's accept the challenge, beat NCDs.
The Metro Manila Health Research Development Consortium has intensified our culture of camaraderie and continues to inspire us to work together to improve health outcomes through health research and development activities. As one community that has continued to make significant contributions to improve and sustain health science and innovation for the benefit of our country and humanity.
All right, that was a very those videos trigger so many nostalgia, such nostalgia for us, especially for the members of committees of MMHRDC, and really hope that come next year, instead of a web conference like this, we have a physical conference once again so that we can have more lively discussions and interactions with each other. Anyway, so before we announce the winners, I'd like to invite our head of the research competition committee, Miss Grace Rosales, to be able to present the electronic certificates for appreciation for our judges.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this online activity of the MMHRDC, and I would like to congratulate all the presenters and all the researchers. So at this point, we will now award the certificate to our Board of Judges who willingly share their time and expertise for this online activity. I will start with the Board of Judges for the research paper oral presentation. Let me just read the certificate. Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, in cooperation with Far Eastern University and Fatima University, presents this certificate of recognition to Dr. Mary Ann Ladja for exhibiting exemplary knowledge and competence as research oral competition judge during the 11th MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference with the theme The Road to Super Seniors, the Science of Aging, given this October 21, 2020, signed Dr. Rosa B. Pamitan, PhD, Director, University Research Center, Far Eastern University, Professor Michael Joseph S. Dino, PhD, MAN, RN, LPT, Director, Research Development and Innovation Center, Our Lady of Fatima University, Hilton White, PhD, MHA, Director, Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, and Maria Gracie Rosales, MSPH, Chair, Research Competition Committee, 11th Annual Scientific Conference. The same certificate is also awarded to our second judge, Dr. Maria Rosario Bernardo Mandura. And another same certificate to our third judge for the oral competition, Dr. Michael Joseph Dino. So let us give a virtual round of applause to all our research oral competition judges, please. So at this point, we will now award the certificate to our Board of Judges for the research paper poster competition. Let me just read again the certificate. Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, in cooperation with Far Eastern University and Our Lady of Fatima University, presents this certificate of recognition to Professor Babsi Morabe, to Dr. Nuna Almanzor, for exhibiting exemplary knowledge and competence as research poster competition judge during the 11th MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference with the theme The Road to Super Seniors, the Science of Aging, given this October 21, 2020. Signed, Generoso B. Pamitan, PhD, Director, University Research Center, Far Eastern University, Professor Michael Joseph S. Dino, PhD, MAN, RN, LPT, Director, Research Development and Innovation Center, Our Lady of Fatima University, Hilton Y. Lam, PhD, MHA, Director, Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, and yours truly, Research Competition Committee Chair, 11th Annual Scientific Conference. So the same certificate is also awarded to our second judge, Ms. Cherry Maramag. And another the same certificate to our third judge for the poster competition, Mr. Oscar Vic Santonino. Again, let's give another virtual round of applause to all our research poster competition judges. At this point, we will now award the certificate to our Board of Judges for the photography competition. Again, let me just read the certificate. Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, in cooperation with Eastern University and Our Lady of Fatima University, presents this certificate of recognition to Professor Babsi Morabe for exhibiting exemplary knowledge and competence as photography competition judge during the 11th MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference with the theme The Road to Super Seniors, the Science of Aging, given this October 21, 2020. Signed, Generoso B. Pamitan, PhD, Director, University Research Center, Far Eastern University, Professor Michael Joseph S. Dino, PhD, MAN, RN, LPP, Director, Research Development and Innovation Center, Our Lady of Fatima University, Hilton Y. Lam, PhD, MHA, Director, Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, and again, yours truly, MS Chair, Research Competition Committee, 11th Annual Scientific Conference. So the same certificate is also awarded to our second judge, Professor David Cruz. And another the same certificate, which reads the same, is also awarded to our third judge, Professor Jerome Cleopas. And the same certificate, which reads the same also, is awarded to our fourth judge for the photography competition, Miss Catherine Romero. Again, let's give another virtual round of applause for our photography competition judges and to all our judges. Thank you so much for sharing your precious time, your expertise, your exemplary knowledge and competence. Thank you so much for all our judges.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rosales, for that presentation. And now we have come to the terminal part of our program, wherein we will be announcing the winners of our different competitions. And may I call on our judges to announce the winners. Of course, for the oral presentation of research, we have Dr. Mary Ann Ladia, Dr. Michael Joseph Dino, and Dr. Maria Rosario Bernardo Lazaro. Okay, so for our oral presentation, the third place will receive 3,000 pesos. For our second place, will receive 5,000 pesos. And for the first place, the proponents will receive 10,000 pesos. All right. So for the undergraduate category, here are our winners. The third place goes to Spiritual Well-Being and Life Satisfaction by Manila Central University. And for our second place, we have Examining Failures and Resiliency of a Community-Managed Drug Outlet, Insights from Consumers and from Adamson University. And finally, our first place for the undergraduate category virtual oral presentation is Glycotyping on N-glycans between normal and phenol-induced for cancer cells, tumor-associated carbohydrate antigen discovery from the research team from De La Salle University. So congratulations to our undergraduate presentations. Okay. All right. Next, we move on to the professional category. For the third place, physiological and physical risks of falling in community-dwelling older adults with and without mild cognitive impairment, a cross-section study by the research team from University of Santo Tomas. Congratulations. For the second place, for the professional category, we have evaluation of micronucleus in exfoliated human buccal epithelial cells among e-waste exposed residents in Payatas, Philippines from the research team from De La Salle University. And finally, for our first place for the virtual oral presentation, professional category is from Centro Escolar University with their title, project entitled The Effectiveness of Topical Oxygen Therapy in Wound Healing of Patients with Diabetic Foot Ulcer. Congratulations to all the professional category winners. And like I said, to recap, the cash prizes that they will receive are 3,000 for the third placer, 5,000 for the second place, and 10,000 for the first place. And for those non-winners, you will receive a prize of prepaid load worth 500 pesos. Especially during these times of pandemic and quarantine, we need all the prepaid load that we can get. Congratulations to all the winners. And of course, thank you so much to our judges, Dr. Ladia, Dr. Dino, and Dr. Bernardo Lazaro. Right. So, okay. So now for the research, for the poster presentation, may I invite Dr. Dino to announce our winners.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jerome. That was unexpected. Okay, at this point, I would like to announce the winners for our research poster presentation at the 11th MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference. The third place goes to the research poster presentation from the Manila Central University College of Medicine entitled Knowledge and Attitude of Primary Healthcare Providers in Manila Regarding Mental Health. The second place goes to Centro Escolar University for the research entitled Preventing Surgical Site Infection Using Operating Room Bundle of Care in Patients Undergoing Elective Laparotomy Cholecystectomy Surgery. And the first place goes to Far Eastern University for the research entitled Molecular Identification and Genotyping of Acanthamoeba spp in Selected Edible Freshwater Fishes in the Philippines. Congratulations to all our poster winners.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dino, for facilitating the announcements. And for our poster presenters, the third place will receive 2,000 pesos, the second place will receive 3,000 pesos, and the first place will receive 5,000 pesos worth of cash prizes. So congratulations to all the winners so far for the research competitions. Now we move to the photography competition, and one who will be announcing the winners is Professor Babsi Morabe, who is one of our judges in the photography competition.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. In behalf of the jury members, Professor David Corpus, Dr. Jerome Cleofas, and Ms. Catherine Romero, we would like to congratulate everyone who participated in this photo contest. So I have with me the results, and I'm pleased to announce the winners. So let's get on with the third place. Third place goes to entry number 4 with the entry title Equal to Talent, Not Age. And the photographer is Mr. Admer Dablio from DOST Industrial Technology Development Institute. Congratulations, Sir Admer Dablio. For the second place is entry number 13 with the entry title Growing with Faith by photographer Paul Nathan Lam of De La Salle University. Congratulations, Paul Nathan Lam. And finally, for the first place, we have entry number 14 with an entry title Growing with Nature, also by photographer Paul Nathan Lam of the De La Salle University. Congratulations to all the winners and stay safe and God bless.
Thank you so much, Sir Babsi Morales, for that for facilitating the announcement of our winners, and truly beautiful and astounding photographs that we've seen submitted by the very talented students and staff photographers from our different member institutions. And then let me take this opportunity to also announce the People's Choice Award for the photography competition. We have Symbols of Hope by Geraldine Dairit from University of Philippines, Manila. Do we have the picture? It's yan. So yan naman ang kay so yan ating People's Choice Award. Okay? So for photography competition, for third place, it's 2,000 pesos. For second place, it's 3,000. For first place, it's 5,000. For People's Choice Award, hindi pa, load daw sa People's Choice Award. People provide according to the organizer. So thank you so much for all of those who participated as audiences, as judges, as researchers, and as photographers, and other organizers of this event. It was truly a successful one that we have. We kind of extended a bit of our time, but it's only because we really were into what we were doing, and we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're still able to manage everything successfully. So in behalf of everyone in MMHRDC, we would like to thank everyone who were who contributed to this event in one way or another. So before we completely end this event, we would like to go and present to you the closing remarks for our session. And our closing remarks will be delivered by Ms. Karina Rebulanan, the Chief of the Institutional Development Division for the Philippine Council for Research and Development.
Pleasant morning to each and every one of you. I hope everyone is safe and well. So on behalf of USCPCHRD and our Executive Director, Dr. Jaime Montoya, I want to thank all of you for being part of this conference. It seems that no pandemic can hold us off from sharing and integrating the essence of health research in our activities. As successful as this event was, it will not be possible without the help of the following people and institutions. So let me sincerely acknowledge them one by one. Dr. Eva Maria Cotionco de la Paz, MMHRDC Steering Committee Chair, and UP Manila National Institutes of Health Executive Director. Your endless support, not only to this activity, but to all the programs of DOST-PCHRD is very notable and highly appreciated. President Caroline Marian Enriquez of Our Lady of Fatima University, and President Michael Alba of our Far Eastern University for co-organizing this webinar and scientific conference. We take pride on having you as our partners. Attorney Lily Frida Milia, Head of the Commission on Higher Education, International Affairs Staff Department for co-funding and providing additional resources for this event. And to Dr. Michael Joseph Dino and Professor Grace Rosales for spearheading this activity. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. And of course, may I send our biggest congratulations to the winners and likewise to all the participating researchers and member institutions of the research and photo competitions. And of course, lastly, we cannot forget to thank our very competent panel of evaluators. Salamat po. It is with your dedicated hearts that this event became successful. So cheers to all of you. The objective of this event is to create a safe and encouraging venue where student and professional researchers can share the results of their studies and gain potential collaborators and end users. The feat of this objective can be attributed to the strong commitment of the member institutions on research utilization and the unwavering support of the consortium. Through the concerted efforts of the organizing and working committees, this event was able to push through amidst challenges. An artist once said, "Work hard in silence and let your success be the noise." Today, we have the noise of our achievement that was bring forth by our committed pursuit and collaboration. And with this, our utmost commendation to MMHRDC, as led by its director, Dr. Hilton Lam, for being the vanguards of health research in the National Capital Region. Let us all continue to support health research. Muli, maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you so much, Ms. Karina Rebulanan, for that message of gratitude to all of the people who have contributed to this event. We would also, in behalf of the MMHRDC, I would also like to thank everyone who has contributed to the planning and implementation of the event. I would also like to congratulate, of course, Dr. Jim Montoya and to DOS and also to DOST NCR and also to the major collaborating organizations, FEU, Our Lady of Fatima University, DOST, CHED, NIH, and DOH. And in behalf of all the organizing committee of the 11th MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference with the theme, The Road to Super Seniors, the Science of Aging, we compassionately hope that you have learned so much from this conference and you have gained new knowledge and new competencies for you to do your research and to do other things in relation to caring for not only our seniors but also for the rest of humanity. And I hope you all stay safe as we go along the rest of the day and the rest of the year. And we hope to see you next year in our next MMHRDC Annual Scientific Conference. Hopefully, we do a face-to-face conference because I really missed everyone and seeing everyone and interacting with everyone. So cross fingers, let's hope and pray for a face-to-face conference next year. And if you have any questions in relation to MMHRDC, you can always email the office and Miss Jam will be there to accommodate you. Maraming pong salamat sa lahat. Mabuhay kayo, pagpalain, stay safe sa inyo at sa inyong mga pamilya, and happy mental health po sa inyong lahat.
Let's have souvenir photo capture for all our participants. I mean panelists. Okay po. Ayan. Okay. So can we request our our panelists to turn on their microphone and video? Yeah. Jam? Okay, saka si Mr. Marvin ko eh. Ayan si Prof. Grace. Ayan. Okay, so si Sir Aurelio and Jam. Ayan, sige po. So we'll have picture. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Then one, may video pa po tayo. Okay, so we-wave lang po natin yung hands natin for 5 to 6 seconds. Ganyan. Okay. Record now. Okay po. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congrats to all.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Congratulations.
Thank
you for the opportunity. Salamat po. Maddie, see
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Lee. Thank you po.
Bye-bye.